The Warriors beat the Sacramento Kings 120-100. The Warriors win the series 4-3. Steph Curry was sensational. He had 50 points. He shot 20 of 38 from the floor, 7 of 18 from three-point range, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. And there were players talking about Steph Curry's performance after the game. Take a listen.
We are a championship team.
This is hard. Like, this is winning at this level. There's a lot of narratives and, commentary throughout, game to game, and you're trying to block it all out and just focus on basketball. But at the end of it, there's fun with it too.
So who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
Steph was elite. He did what he was supposed to do. He put these guys on his back and he said, we're not losing tonight, and I'm going to make sure that happens. A guy like that, you hope that he misses some shots. I still think we could have withstood his barrage if we would have made free throws and boxed out.
One of the greatest players ever. He makes tough shots. He gets in the lane. He's able to finish. He did everything for them tonight, and once he got it going, it was just tough for us to slow him down. Obviously, you want to try to send two at him, just disrupt him as much as possible. But like I said, when he gets it going, there's pretty much nothing you can do.
That was the post-game press conferences from some Kings players like De'Aaron Fox, Kings head coach Mike Brown. Steph Curry himself also spoke, and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green also had a lot to say about their star players' performance in this Game 7. So, my reaction to Steph Curry's tremendous Game 7 performance is simple. It was the greatest Game 7 performance in NBA history. And I looked at the game, and I'm watching the game, and at halftime, the Kings were beating the Warriors 58-56. Klay Thompson, he was struggling for the game. Klay Thompson, he finished with 16 points on 4 of 19 shooting, 2 of 10 from three-point range. The Kings were up 2 at the half. The Kings crowd was going crazy, and it's a Game 7, and you got the feeling that the Kings are going to possibly pull away. You think about the Warriors' struggles on the road all season long. In the regular season, the Warriors went 11-30 on the road, and they won Game 5 on the road in Sacramento. But that was their biggest road game of the season. They had been struggling all season long on the road, and Jordan Poole was struggling. Klay Thompson was struggling. Everyone on the Warriors was struggling, and Steph Curry put together a performance, and he reminded and put De'Aaron Fox specifically on notice. Let me remind this brother of who the hell I am, and it's levels to this. Steph Curry was sensational in Game 7. His 50 points was the most points all time in an NBA Game 7 playoff performance. Sam Jones had 47 in 1963. Dominique Wilkins had 47 in 1988. Kevin Durant dropped 48 in the 2021 NBA playoffs, but none of those 3 performances were on the level of Steph Curry. And this is the thing about the performance yesterday from Steph. Usually, when we watch Steph and he has these high numbers from an offensive standpoint scoring, usually he lights it up from three-point range. In this game, he only shot 7 of 18 from 3. So he missed 11 three-point shot attempts. But in this game, Steph showed you and myself, because I'm going to get to me in a bit, because I gotta hold myself accountable, because Steph put me on notice. He put me on notice. So I'm going to get to that in a bit. But it wasn't really the three-point shooting that did it. Steph was getting to the rim, finishing around the rim. He also was hitting the floaters in the lane, the teardrop shots in the lane, finishing around the rim, the handles and the ball handling was at an all-time high. He also was able to distribute the basketball, 6 assists. So he created opportunities for others on his team, and he didn't just kill the Kings from the three-point line. He killed the Kings all around in this performance. It's one of the greatest playoff performances in NBA history. And I have to be honest, like, before he won his NBA Finals MVP last year, I was one of those people that said, oh, Steph is the greatest shooter of all time. But when it comes to being one of the all-time greats or one of the best players in the NBA, I probably would take LeBron over Steph. I would take I would take KD over Steph as well because of their physical ability and how they are made. They're the ability of being able, how they're built. Like LeBron is 6'8", Kevin Durant has a 7'2", 7'3" wingspan, and so their stature from a physical standpoint, I've always said like I would take that over Steph. So I give Steph credit for being the greatest shooter of all time, but not necessarily the best player. Until his finals performance last year, it shut me up. Because remember, before Kevin Durant arrived in Golden State, the year when the Warriors won in the 2015 NBA Finals against LeBron and the Cavs, it was Andre Iguodala who won Finals MVP. And then obviously in 2016, they lost a commanding 3-1 lead. That was a 73-9 Warriors team. They lost the 3-1 lead to LeBron. And then Kevin Durant shows up to Golden State, and the Warriors win 2 more championships. Kevin Durant was the Finals MVP for those 2 championships while he was in Golden State. So after Kevin Durant departed Golden State, I was one of the people that said, I need to see Steph in the finals win an NBA Finals MVP. I never said that Steph wasn't an all-time great. I just needed to see him win a Finals MVP. And for me, that was going to solidify his legacy for me. And so he was able to do that last year in the NBA Finals against a Boston Celtics team that was one of the deepest teams in the NBA, that had Jaylen Brown, that had Jason Tatum, that had Al Horford, Derek White, Robert Williams, Grant Williams. And Steph Curry was by far the best player on the floor in the NBA Finals last year. So he locked it up for me, and he solidified his legacy last year in the NBA Finals for me. But this was the cherry on top. This Game 7 performance was the cherry on top for Steph Curry. Steph Curry had 50 points for the game. He had 30 points in the second half. Steph scored or assisted on 66 of the Warriors' 120 points. I'm going to say it again. Steph scored or assisted on 66 of the Warriors' 120 points. Also, in this series, when Steph was off the floor, the Warriors were a minus 43. When Steph Curry was on the floor, the Warriors were a plus 58. So I believe that when you look at Steph Curry right now and what he's been able to do since Kevin Durant has departed Golden State, I believe that Steph Curry and the way that he's currently playing is more impressive to me, even more so than when he won his NBA MVPs. Because when he won his NBA MVPs, I thought at that time Klay Thompson was still one of the best players in the NBA. And I still think Klay is one of the best players in the NBA. But since his injuries that he's had to deal with, Klay is not playing at the level that we once saw him play at. Klay can still shoot the ball at a high level and still is a productive player. But Klay is not the player in 2023 that he was in 2016. So Steph has done a great job of carrying this Warriors team. Clay is not at his same level. Draymond is also not at his same level. Andre Iguodala is now just a veteran presence on the Warriors team, similar to Udonis Haslem with the Miami Heat. That's Andre Iguodala's role on the Golden State Warriors. He's just on the team because he's a veteran presence. He's done a lot for the organization. They love to have him around, kind of like a extra coach on the bench. So I believe what Steph is currently doing is more impressive now than what he did back in 2016, because this Warriors team, they're not as good as they were back in 2016. Like back then, even before Kevin Durant arrived in Golden State, remember the Warriors' depth? They had Sean Livingston. They had Leandro Barbosa. They had David West as well on their bench. Now they got an inconsistent Jordan Poole, who's a turnover machine. Gary Payton is a great perimeter defender, but offensively, he can be inconsistent at times. Also on their bench, they got Moody. Moody's not no great player on the bench. They got Kuminga, but they don't really play him many minutes. So what Steph Curry is currently doing now is even more impressive than what he did earlier in his career. And we always talk about LeBron James and what he's able to do at an older age. We got to start talking about Steph Curry, because at age 35, I believe that Steph Curry is the best player currently in the NBA. Now, I know a lot of people were saying for the last 3 years that it's Giannis. No, Giannis is not the best player in the NBA. It is Steph Curry. And I'm one of those people that was saying, oh, Kevin Durant is the best player in the NBA. I even had a period where I said Giannis was the best player in the NBA, but you can't be the best player in the NBA and miss 13 free throws in an elimination game. And I'm going to get to Giannis and the Bucks here in a bit, but Steph Curry has no weaknesses to his game offensively. Giannis has weaknesses. So Steph Curry and what he was able to do in this series was sensational. In the series against the Kings, Steph had 236 total points. That is the most points by a player 35 years or older in NBA history. And let me give you some more historical context, because Steph Curry is doing some historical stuff. Steph Curry has won more playoff series than Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Shaq, Kobe, Magic, Larry Bird, and Kareem. Let's go down the list, shall we? KD and Shaq, they won 71% of their playoff series. Larry Bird won 72% of his playoff series. Kareem won 75% of his playoff series. Kobe won 77% of his playoff series. God rest his soul. LeBron won 78% of his playoff series. Magic won 80% of his playoff series. MJ won 81% of his playoff series. Steph Curry, his all-time record in playoff series is 23-4. So he's won 85% of his playoff series. So from a historic perspective, considering the percentage of the wins that Curry has in the playoffs, I believe that Steph Curry has entered the top 10 greatest players of all time conversation, and he is the greatest point guard in NBA history. I know Magic Johnson was a great passer as a point guard, great athleticism, ran the Showtime Lakers at a high level, was a big piece for the Lakers when they won championships. Before Kobe, Magic was the greatest Laker in NBA history. But Magic Johnson was never the scorer that Steph Curry currently is. And Steph Curry's only 6'2". The man is 6'2". Like I said, I'm one of those people that needed to see Steph do it in a way with because he didn't win the Finals MVP back in 2015. He didn't win the Finals MVP, and I thought in that series against the Cavs, Matthew Dellavedova, he didn't shut Steph down, but I thought there were times where I'm like, Steph, you need to really like go crazy on this dude. Like you can have your way with Matthew Dellavedova, and there were times where Dellavedova was making things tough on Steph, and I'm like, I need to see a dominant Finals performance. I saw it last year in the NBA Finals, and then this Game 7 performance was a cherry on top. In the past, I used to always say that the Warriors, it's a system. It's Draymond, it's Clay, it's Andre Iguodala. You got Kevin Durant, who you came and plugged in for 3 years. Steve Kerr, one of the best coaches in the NBA. I always said like the Warriors is a system, like, but they're not a system. Steph Curry is just an all-time great, and he's not just an all-time great shooter. Steph Curry is an all-time great player, and he's the greatest point guard in NBA history, and he's a top 10 NBA player as far as I'm concerned. And I got to give this man his credit. I got to give him his credit. I had my questions about him, and I said, like, I need to see Steph win a Finals MVP. I knew he was the greatest shooter of all time. I just needed him to dominate in NBA Finals, and he did that last year, and he dominated the Sacramento Kings in Game 7. This was a 7-game series that was competitive between the Kings and the Warriors. Kings are an up-and-coming young basketball team. Mike Brown won NBA Coach of the Year. De'Aaron Fox won the Clutch Man of the Year award. De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis is a nice duo to build around. They got Malik Monk. They got Harrison Barnes. And in the fourth quarter yesterday against the Warriors, the Kings crowd was silent. Steph Curry completely snatched the Sacramento Kings and their fans' hearts from their chest. Snatched their hearts right from their chest. I'm watching the game, and mind you, this is Sacramento, one of the biggest home court advantages in the NBA. It was complete silence in the final 7 minutes of that game yesterday. Complete silence. And it was an historic performance from an all-time great player. And I got to give Steph his credit. He definitely balled out in this series. Warriors are moving on to face the Lakers in the Western Conference semifinals.